The price you pay for electricians, pest control services, plumbers is going up. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, or bad news bearer, if you will.
Welcome back to the Security Bros. I'm Ken, this is James, and here's the situation. A lot of people don't realize that in 2020, there was a big change in the vehicle manufacturing setup. Now, before 2020, we could get economical work vans starting at around $20,000. This worked out quite well for the service industry because they burn through a lot of these vans because their workers drive sometimes hundreds of miles a day. But after 2020, that all changed. Now vans start at $45,000, more than twice the price, which completely changes things in terms of how service companies have to charge customers. So that's probably why some of you have noticed that the cost for all your contractors has just jumped way up, and it's not because they're making more profit. The question is, why?
You already know that the Ford Transit Connect is the best-selling small van in America.
First of all, the small vans, you can't even get them in the US market anymore. They discontinued them. And I'm not just talking about Ford. I'm talking, you had the Ram ProMaster, you had the Nissan NV200, I believe. Chevy also had a branded version of that exact same van. You had the Mercedes Metris as well. Every single one, within a span of a few year time frame, gone. And you can't get them anymore. The general claim is that the market demand was low and they were not selling many of these. I know a lot of service-based companies and they're all using them. I see all these electricians with them. I see the florists with them. I see the food delivery, catering companies with them. Everybody wants these small vans.
You probably already know that Transit Connect has been a hit with entrepreneurs, people creating these new micro businesses, many of them driven by technology. And it's a hit, and those same people have families that they got to move, dogs, etc. So it works both for their personal and their professional needs.
It turns out it was kind of political. So in 2023, Joe Biden signs an executive order that 50% of all new vehicles sold in the US are to be electric by 2030. The administration also proposed new vehicle emission standards starting with a 10% stringency increase by the 2023 model year. Don't forget, 2023, that's not an insignificant year for our story. During the same time frame, multiple small vans are discontinued. In 2022, the Ram discontinued the Ram ProMaster, the small one, City, the Ram ProMaster City. In 2023, Ford discontinues the Transit Connect. During the same time frame, EV vehicles start popping up all over the place, typically in a full-size form factor. So there's a shift here you can see, right? The administration puts out these executive orders that this is where they want things to be going. Manufacturers were claiming that these were due to low volume sales. Even some auto bloggers, as I was sifting through all this information, were claiming that these small vans are like a mystery. And they're like, they came and they went and no one really knew what they were. And it's like, no, they're still driving. You see them all over the place.
They're very small. They're really cute. And I said, how would that do in this country? And everyone seems to think good, but you're not allowed to build them.
There's one really important piece to this story. I'm waiting to see if you mention it.
No.
Okay.
Tell me.
So it's carrot and stick. So with Joe Biden's administration, you have to phase out the gas stuff.
Right.
That was one of the big ones. On top of that, they then highly incentivized making the electric ones, with money. So they were like, we're going to pay you all kinds of money to make the electric ones.
Right.
Because they're being given the money that would have normally come from customers.
Yep.
So if the money comes from customers, they're gonna make what customers want. But if government says, you can't give the customers what they want, but we're actually gonna pay you instead, then they're gonna go where the money is, and that's exactly what they did.
Yep.
It's not that much of a mystery. There you go.
I knew the story that we were being told of nobody wants these things, it's a low volume of sales, wasn't the whole story.
No, it was a very high volume of sales.
Right.
We've bought several of them ourselves. That's our preferred van because they can get in and out of cities. They're economical to buy. They're also better on gas.
Yeah,
they're easier to
fit in
park.
those- they fit in smaller spots.
They can fit inside parking garages that some of the big vans won't.
Another key component to this whole thing is something called the chicken tax. Sounds silly? It's a thing. So what is the chicken tax? Well, the chicken tax is a 25% tariff placed on imported light trucks. Light trucks, vans, and pickups. Back in 1964, there was tariffs imposed on the U.S. in relation to our exports of chicken product, hence the name chicken tax. And so the U.S. retaliated with this tax on, exports from those countries.
These other countries, they're tariffing the U.S. on any chicken products leaving the U.S. to them. And in retaliation, the U.S. is tariffing them on any of their trucks and vans being sent to the U.S.
Yeah. So as we bring in, like the Ford Transit Connect or the Ram ProMaster, there's a 25% tariff fee placed on those vans. There's a way around this, though. It says unless modified. So what they would do is they would build these light vans, the work vans, as just a full passenger van. They would ship it to the United States, and then they would take it to a facility, and they would strip all the seats out, they would take the windows out, and they would replace them all with panels and just a basic floor and make it into the work van that you could buy in the US. There was a facility that we went to for the Ram ProMasters, this was years ago, and I was like, why is this facility full of vans and you're just ripping seats and windows and doors and everything out, just throwing it in the trash, like just chuck it in the dumpster. It was cheaper to bring it in, throw it all out, and put panels on the thing, and then resell it to avoid the 25% tariff. Like I said, there was that workaround unless modified. Passenger vehicles are subject to a 2.5% tariff, so it was significantly more affordable for them to import it as a passenger vehicle, even if they were throwing all the interior stuff out. That gig didn't work out for everybody because in 2024, Ford settled a major lawsuit with the government, and they had to pay $365 million over allegations of trying to skirt the chicken tax.
Now they didn't pay off the right people.
Yep. The whole thing is a political mess, and that is why they have taken our precious compact work vans away from us. They still make them. Don't worry. You can still get, the same vehicles in other countries, just not for the US. Unfortunately, what this means for you, the company has to buy something that's woefully inefficient to meet the needs. So you're now trying to work out of an SUV because it's a little bit cheaper than buying a $50,000 van. And that's bad for everybody too. Or they buy the $50,000 van, which is the only thing that's available, and then they just have to raise their rates. And unfortunately, that means when I need to call an electrician to come work on my house, I'm gonna have to pay him more because he has to pay for that big new van because the government said that he couldn't buy a affordable van anymore.
Companies have to deal with this type of stuff on a constant basis because the government is constantly doing these meddling with things that end up costing money. And it may not be things that you would even think of. I mean, something as simple as discontinuing pennies. Companies have to spend time and energy and money to figure out a new system. And the same thing with the vehicles. Now you have to spend more money on the vehicles. So the government is constantly doing things that keep companies putting resources into solving problems that the government creates. And then people wonder, well, why aren't companies spending more money on salary? They actually might like to do that, but it's very difficult when they're constantly losing money to trying to fix all these problems, and they can never quite get into a groove where things are good, because it's about the second you start to get into a groove, wait a second, now you're out of the groove. Like with the vehicles, one way that companies are going to solve this is, yes, they'll raise their rates a little bit, so they'll charge customers a little bit more, and then what they'll do is they won't take away from someone's salary, but they definitely won't increase it at the rate they would have.
Right.
Like they might have been willing to give a bump up in pay this year, but if they have to spring for 10 new work vans that are all $50,000 instead of 20, now they've just spent an extra $30,000, so $300,000. Yeah, well, that money has to come from somewhere, and now workers don't get the raises that they kind of needed.
And that's just in the course of like less than 5 years. I mean, we have a 2019 in our fleet that was like 20 grand. A little over 5 years later now, if we want to replace it, it's going to be more than twice the cost.
Years ago in the business, $20,000 was a tough price to pay at the time. And then you get to a place where you're more successful and it's finally like, great, now we're at a level where $20,000 is not hard to pay.
Right.
Except now it's $50,000,
Yeah.
which is harder to pay.
Keep on climbing, keep on trying.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's like, can you ever get to a place where your small business is able to afford things
No.
that a more successful business can? And is if they keep raising, it's like they keep raising the bar, just out of reach,
Almost
just
had
out of
it.
reach.
It's like the carrot.
Yeah.
They tape
It's like-
the carrot on a stick.
Yeah, like when do you get to that place where you can afford the things that you need to run your business and you aren't always like in some kind of crisis mode or
And
trying to figure out how to make ends meet? It's like, come on.
These aren't luxuries. It's an engine with 2 seats and it's a box.
It's a metal box.
It's a
with
metal
wheels.
box.
It's a
That's
metal
it.
box on wheels.
You know, they want to push these EVs, but a lot of these EVs are like what? They get 187 miles of range, but it's not that infrequent that I will go more than 200 miles in a day. Sorry, I can't show up because I'm about to run out of gas or like battery. It's just not practical for a service-based business that's doing a high mileage.
Okay, so
job.
imagine that you are working at a hospital and we service these medical facilities. So imagine they have the sliding emergency doors for the ambulance entry, and they have someone coming in with a gunshot wound, and the door is like not working correctly, and so they call us, hey, we have an emergency. The electronic door is not working. Can you send someone over? It's an emergency. And normally, the dispatcher contacts the security technician and dispatches them to the location. But if they only have enough juice in their battery to get home because it's towards the end of the workday, and they say, well, no, I can't run that emergency call because we only get 150 miles in our work van in a day, so I guess they'll have to wait till tomorrow after my van is charged.
Yeah.
Like those are the types of problems that happen when everybody goes on electric.
Just put a battery in it that gets as much as like a vehicle get,
Once again, they did not take everything into consideration, which you can't when they try to centrally plan everything.
Right.
They make these decisions and they cause problems that didn't exist before they made the decision, and now they have to try to solve that problem.
And this is not me, to be clear, hating on EVs. I think the concept is really cool, and I do like some of the ones that are out there. We were looking at some together the other day. I love the idea of it being nice and quiet and just smooth and like all the nice touch screens and stuff.
Nice.
Super cool, right?
So cool.
The thing is, the price is just a little bit too high, and the range is my big issue.
We're definitely not hating on cool new tech. We're not hating on electric vehicles. I'm hating on, and since we're talking about driving, I'm going to say that the government needs to get in its own lane and get outside of this lane.
My notes say, let the market decide what vehicles live on and what die. I have another note here. The government needs to stay out of it. So I'm glad we agree.
The government absolutely needs to stay out of it.
Yep.
And if you think that the government needs to stay out of it, why don't you go ahead and like this video so we know and share it so your friends know.
Bye.